guys, welcome to our latest YouTube video. Today we're going to talk about German Waffen-SS helmets. It is a very difficult subject in World War II collecting, as these helmets are very expensive, well sought after, and of course also faked a lot. We're going to talk about the three types of German helmets today: the M35 helmet, the M40 helmet, and the M42 helmet. And afterwards we're going to see what type of decals we can find. Is the ET decal, the EF decal, the Quist decal, and of course the reissued Pocher decal. So as I told before, we're going to talk about the three German helmet types that were known in World War II, which is the M35, the M40 and the M42 helmet. Now an M35 helmet is this example. These were always produced in the beginning of the war with double decals on both sides, and you can easily recognize them by their ventilation holes. These are separate pieces placed into the shell, and of course the rim of the helmet is bent over. The color, when it came out of the factory, I'm not talking about reissued helmets, is mostly apple green or pea green, as referred to in textbooks. A bit later in the war, they produced the M40 helmet. The M40 helmet, as we have an example here, is almost the same as the M35 helmet, but the major difference is the vent holes. The vent holes are now part of the steel helmet itself and not a separate piece that was placed inside. The M40 helmet also has the rim that is bent over, and it was produced mostly with one decal on the side, but as you can see here, this one is a very rare example with two decals. Later in the war, the production process of the helmets needed to be faster, so they designed the M42 helmet. The M42 helmet has the same vent holes as the M40 helmet, which is part of the helmet, but the rim of the helmet has not been folded to save time, and like this the production of the helmets went faster. So in Germany, back in the days, there were actually 5 major helmet factories that produced helmets, of which only 3 of them actually made SS helmets. Now we have the 5 companies. The first one is ET, or later known as CKL. They made SS helmets with a typical ET decal on them. Then of course we had the company SE, or later known as HKP, is a factory that not produced SS helmets. So if you see in a helmet with that factory mark, it's probably not a good helmet. Then we had the factory NS, same story as SE. NS did not produce SS helmets. So again, if you encounter a SS helmet with the code NS inside, it is probably not a good one. Then the last 2 factories is EF. EF produced SS helmets from their M40 models and their M42 models. So an EF with an EF helmet M35 was not produced in SS. So the M40 and the M42 were, and they used their own decals, but also the decals of the factory of ET. And then the last factory that produces SS helmets was Quist, with letter Q. Quist had their own typical SS decal, and it can be seen on M35 and M40 helmets. It can't be seen on M42 helmets because the factory Quist actually did not produce M42 helmets until the late 1944 or 1945, and then of course, as you might know, decals were not applied anymore on the helmets. So now we're going to dig a little bit deeper in the 4 types of SS decals we know. Of course, there are a little bit more types known for SS decals, but we are going to talk about the main SS decals you want to have on an investment piece helmet. These are of course, 3 of those decals are factory produced decals, and the Pocher decal we also refer to the reissued decal. We'll talk about that a bit later. So ET produce their own decal. You can see it here on this helmet, or you have another example right over here. You have M35 and M40 ET. ET is well known because the decal is very in block letters written or designed, as you can see. The S has a middle piece of black. They're not very sharp. I will counter that later. If you look at a Quest decal, you have one right over here. The Quest decal has sharper runes. Same one here. This is also a Quest decal. Sharp runes, much sharper than the ET decal we just encountered. And of course, what is the difference between the Quest decal and a Pocher decal we will see later? The Quest decal has the letters S, or the runes S, are underneath this bottom line. I will show that later in a video. Then of course EF has another type of decal. It looks a little bit like the Quest decal, although the runes are the sharpest runes, as I call them myself, as the points of the runes S point up the highest of all the types of decals. You will only find this decal on the EF helmet, but it is possible to find also an ET decal on an EF helmet factory applied.
Hi guys, we're here at a small show in Waver in Belgium, and we found the missing link for our SS helmet decal video. This is an M34 Edelstahl helmet, and it has actually original applied Pocher decal. The Pocher decal is a reissued decal. It wasn't applied by factory, but it was only for reissued helmets or M34 helmets. We will speak about the details about this decal a bit later in the video.
So I've put some decals I photographed myself on the schedule here. So on the left side we can see the EF decal. Here we have the ET decal, Quest decal, and on the right the Pocher decal. So you will see here, as I said before, EF decals are only visible on M40 and M42 helmets produced by EF, while the ET decal is presented here. You'll find on their M35, M40 and M42 helmets, but you will also find them often on M42 helmets by EF. Of course, it's possible that you can find them with the CKL marking. CKL is a late war marking for the factory of ET. The Quest decal you will only find on helmets with the letter Q, made by the factory Quest. You can only see them on the M35 and the M40 helmets, as the M42 helmet by Quest was only made in late 1944, 1945, and then there were no decals produced anymore. The Pocher decal is a special one. It's not that you can find this on a particular maker, because it's a reissue decal. It was placed secondary on a helmet when the helmet came back to a factory. Most of the times you will find these on M35 helmets. They're rarely seen on M40 helmets and probably not seen on M42 helmets. So how can we determine which decal is which, or to which factory it belonged to? It's actually by simply drawing lines and making simple conclusions. So we'll start on the left side here of the screen, going to the EF decal. Both are similar, placed on original EF shells. What is also typical for these decals is they're late war produced. The application of a decal is not always correct, as you can see here. This one is a bit off center, and this one on the bottom shows a bit of wrinkling by bad application. Of course, design-wise, I call these myself the sharpest runes, because the runes, or the S's, from they point upwards the most. If you draw a line here, you'll see we have only small amount of space available here in the corner, so they are these S's are pointing upwards the most compared to all other designs. So this is typical EF design. If you go and see the ET design, it's total different. If you place the same line here, you will see it's almost horizontal. And you will also see that if you put multiple lines here, you'll see a big black space here because the letters or the runes are actually block shaped compared to EF or other designs. That's why the design of the ET decal is very unique, and you can immediately tell on pictures even when either it's an ET helmet or not. Could be an EF helmet, of course, M42, because these decals were, as I said before, also used on M42 EF helmets. But it's a typical design, block-shaped letters. If you go a bit further, we'll have the Quist design here, and on the far right, the Pocher design. Design-wise, these decals for me are similar, but they have one major difference, and the difference is actually when you put a horizontal line on the bottom of the helmet where the two corners are, you'll see that the Quist decal crosses this line in both examples. Here and here crosses the line, while the Pocher decal actually does not cross this line. So the legs, the bottom legs of the runes of the Quist decal are shorter than those of the Quist examples. So I hope that by explaining these small details, it will be easier for you to determine if your helmet, which decal you have on your helmet, and of course, be careful if you have a decal that looks like it, but it's not the design that matches the maker mark. You should ask yourself questions when either your helmet is original or not. So one question that might occur when you see these images is the color of the SS decals. Actually, they have a silver base with black runes, but you'll see here with this ET rune and this Quist rune, the decal has been toned. These decals were actually silver at one point in the war, but with the age of time, some decals can discolor and become orange-ish color. Why is this? Because earlier helmets, and this is an early helmet, M35, and this is actually an early M40 Quist double decal, had some sort of lacquer on the decal to prevent them from being damaged, and it's actually that lacquer that discolors in time. It's a big discussion for army helmets because people sometimes refer to them as navy helmets because the discoloration of the eagle. But of course, even with army helmets, it's also knowing the design of the decal, and then you will know if it's a genuine navy helmet or not. And it's the same.
about SS decals became available, it is because of the lot number database that was collected by either Brian Ice or Frank from German Helmet Vault. Both of them collected a database where the factory stamp is combined with the lot number in the rear of the helmet, and because of that certain patterns and guidelines became visible for the helmet collector. The patterns that were discovered were, for example, factories that did not produce SS helmets, like I said in the beginning. SE and S did not make them. That became visible because of the database. And of course, M42 helmets that were produced without decals from 1944 became clear that from a certain amount of lot number, helmets did not have a decal anymore. So if they have a decal, that decal must have been applied post-war. And because of this lot number database, a big scam was actually discovered. You might have heard about the SS Champagne decal. The SS Champagne decal is actually a design based on the ET decal, but there were actually helmets found produced by NS or other factories that suddenly had an SS decal, and it didn't match up. And because of the database, you could have concluded that the big scam of these champagne decals was discovered, that they were all being faked after the war. So I've got a couple of SS helmets here and even a couple of camouflage helmets. So I'll show you how the database works and how you can use it yourself.
So this is the famous website, German Helmet Vault, of my friend Frank. It is by far the best website about German helmets online, and it's better than any book written, in my opinion. You will find all information about SS helmets and SS decals on this website, but of course you'll find more information than just SS helmets. There's information about all German helmets on here, so if you want to start collecting German helmets, or you collect German helmets that you never heard of this website, I would strongly recommend to reading through all the subjects here and of course try to understand everything that's being told. The most important thing here for me is of course the lot number database. You'll find this here, German Helmets 101, lot number database. Just click here and it will open itself. So when opening the German lot number database, you'll already see that 2,371 helmets are listed here. And it says already here, very important, so please read this message. Lot numbers are not serial numbers. A lot number can hold different helmets, sizes and branches, and a lot number alone will not help you authenticate your helmet. It's a tool to find more information about your helmet. A fine example is here. While scrolling down, you'll see all helmets are sorted per model and number. Scrolling down a bit to the EF helmets, for example. Here, 11,763 is a known lot number for an EF helmet. One is an Army helmet, one is a Luftwaffe helmet. So what does this tell us? That helmets with the same lot number can be produced for different branches. Of course, for SS helmets, for example, it is possible that they only have one lot number, but it's not a certainty. You will have lot numbers having Army decals and SS decals on the same lot number, but it's a guideline to help us determine if the possibility we have having an original SS helmet. And of course, the main thing for these databases, the most important thing for these databases is when scrolling down, the late war helmets is when the no decal examples were produced. So finding a helmet with a decal that should be no decal is actually a red flag already. So we'll have this with the NS series, probably the same. No decal series on the bottom. Of course, ET or CKL, same story. It's a lot of scrolling, of course, a lot of information in the database. So you'll see here M42 helmets by CKL. The no decal started around lot number 4291. There's one here, but if you have a number of this amount on your helmet, it should be a no decal helmet, and if it has a decal, you should ask yourself serious questions. So I'm just trying to say, try to understand the database as a guideline to determine when either your helmet is original or not, but it's not a certainty.
So we're going to check here. This is a double decal M35 produced by ET, size 66, lot number 4390. So we're going to check if we can find a match in the database, and if not, maybe we can find a helmet close to it that will give us an idea if the helmet is original, yes or no. So if I look here on Brian Ice's website, I find an immediately match M35 ET66, lot number 4390. An SS helmet is known on this particular lot number. Even 3 are known, so that makes it plausible that the SS helmet I own is an original example. So a second helmet we're going to have a look at is this Quist produced SS helmet. Helmet has a typical Quist decal on the side. So is this helmet plausible original helmet, yes or no? The database will tell us. So the helmet is a Quist 66 and the lot number is IN239. So this time I'm going to use Frank's database. You just go to the website germanhelmetvault.com. You can click here to view the lot number database, then it opens up. And as you can see here already, I picked M40 helmet with the IN codes. The IN codes are not very big here, but we can already see the lot number I had here, IN239. You can already see here there are a few helmets known: 226, 236, 243, 286. All single decal Quist examples known. So even if my particular helmet, the lot number is not in there, this is a perfect match for the database, as it is only a few numbers apart. So if the details of the helmet of the decal are good and it matches in the database like here, my helmet is a 100% original SS helmet. So where does the helmet database becomes really interesting? It's when we have camouflage helmets. Camouflage helmets, as this one, they don't really show a decal, but of course, with this particular helmet, I can see little spots of a SS decal under the paint. And how can I be sure that it is actually an SS helmet? Well, I can look at the database. So I've opened up Brian Ice's database here, typed in the lot number 100,333, sorry. And if you can see here, about 8 examples are known, of which 3 of them are actually known SS helmets. So combined with the information we have here and the possible remains of a decal we can see here, we can actually be 100% sure that this is an original camouflaged SS helmet. So we have another camouflaged helmet here, and we're going to find out if this is a possible SS helmet, yes or no. So the helmet was produced by EF size 64, the lot number 4651, and it's an M35 helmet. So going to the German Helmet Vault database here, looking at this particular lot number, I can see that it was actually or a Luftwaffe or an army helmet. Because of the inside color, it is an army helmet, not an SS helmet. And of course, because I already said this in the beginning of the movie, an M35 helmet produced by EF was not actually, EF, sorry, didn't produce SS helmets in their M35 series. So that is also already a basic thing to know when collecting SS helmets, that this is an army helmet and not an SS helmet. So here we have another N42 camouflaged, sand camouflaged helmet, thick paint on it. So impossible to see if there's an SS decal or an army decal underneath. So we're going to look it up in the database. It's a helmet produced by ET62. ET is marked on the side, and the code is 1520. Sorry, 1530. The combination and this of this is for me it's possible that it's an SS helmet, but we'll decide what we'll see what the lot number database says. So if I put these numbers right in here in Brian Ice's database, we see a couple of N42 ET62 helmets with the same lot number already known, and as we can see, the only ones known are Luftwaffe or Army helmets. Also, if you look a bit upwards or downwards using the database, it's only Army and Luftwaffe helmets. So again, this is not an original SS helmet. It is an original Army helmet, but not an SS one. So the database is a guideline for collecting helmets. It's not a certainty. Some helmets you will find in the database, or you will find a lot number close to it, but you won't always find a match, of course. But of course, you can always know that an M35 helmet was always produced, factory produced with double decal. An M40 helmet was always produced having a single or a double decal. An M42 helmet was only half produced with decal and furthermore without decals. So it is possible that you have an original helmet, but it doesn't fit the database. Then you have to look again. Does the decal matches the factory of the helmet?
So if you wish to see some genuine SS helmets on the website, in the sold category, just press shop on the top here, and then you can search them by price, high to low. You'll find all the rarest stuff, of course, here, and all the SS helmets are amongst them. Here is, for example, a SS M35 double decal helmet with Bocher runes I discussed in the earlier videos. Here's a SS camouflage helmet where the lot number database came in handy to determine whether it was a possible SS helmet, yes or no. Here's another Quist M40 we sold a few months back. ET reissued with Bocher decal, one with ET decal, another ET camouflage SS, and so on. So you can browse here through all the nice stuff we sold in the recent months and years.
You might have seen this helmet already in the beginning of the video. It's an interesting helmet. The SS decal is not a factory applied decal. Actually, it is a hand painted decal. Now, this helmet is one of the only items I have in my collection that came from a friend in primary school and was found on the attic when his grandfather died. Of course, any helmet collector would say that this SS decal is fake or forgery, but it was never in the collection before. It was actually found in the war and found on the attic, and I know it because I was the first collector who had it in hand. Now, is this an actually original SS helmet? Well, I've looked it up in the database, and it is an ET helmet, size 64, and has lot number 657. So it's an early produced M40 helmet. It still has the glossy paint. It looks a bit like the M35 paint. And when I looked closely using a microscope, a small corner of the original SS decal was still visible. And a main thing to look at, of course, is was there ever an army decal on this side? Now, if we look very closely, there's no sign of an army decal on this side. So having this early paint and not an army decal is also an indication that this could not have been an army decal, so it has to be an SS one. So my guess was that the decal was badly damaged in the war, and the SS soldier in particular repainted his decal, and he even used a bit of the design like an ET decal with the block-shaped runes, as you can see here. So it's a nice SS helmet, but of course it is not a factory decal on there, so it does not have the big value as a textbook one would have. It's a nice helmet in my own collection, and I know where it came from. So I hope you enjoyed this video about SS helmets. It helped you a little bit further in determining when either a helmet is an original SS helmet or not. I personally have the feeling I haven't said everything I needed to say, but it's very difficult giving all this information, all this knowledge of all the years in one short video. But I think it's a start. It should help you further to determine if a helmet is good or not. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more videos in the future. Because of the lot data number, because of the lot database data lot number.
Kijk maar, wat is dat?
Everything you want to know about lot data.